What's up YouTube, Swaggertron here, and today we're going to be doing a deck profile on Dark Magician, a deck I've been using recently on the channel. So let's get started. First up, we have 3 copies of Dark Magician. You have to play him at 3, it's pretty much the heart and soul of the deck. 1 copy of Magician of Dark Illusion. His effect is this card becomes Dark Magician while it's face up on the field. You only can use each of these effects of Dark Illusion once per turn. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell, trap, or effect of a spell or trap, you can special summon this card from your hand. Its second effect is if you activate a spell or trap or the effect of a spell or trap while this card is face up on the field, you could target 1 Dark Magician in your graveyard, special summon it. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. So it's pretty much just another copy of Dark Magician that you could use in the deck, basically. Some decks use multiple copies of him, like 2, sometimes even 3. I think only 1 copy is fine. 3 copies of Apprentice Illusion Magician. You can special summon this card from your hand by discarding 1 card. If this card is normal special summon, you can add 1 Dark Magician from your deck to your hand. During damage calculations during each player's turn, you could, if your other dark spellcaster type monster battles an opponent's monster, you send this card from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard. That monster gains 2000 attack and defense during damage calc only. So it's basically a way to help you spam the field, because you could discard a card in the special summoner. She rolled this for your Dark Magician, which is really good, and she's practically an honest for the deck, because she helps solve a problem that Dark Magician had, which is getting over monsters that are like, I want to say like 3000 attack or more. Because she can just boost them up to 4500. That pretty much means that Dark Magician could basically beat almost all monsters in the game. So she solved a lot of problems for the deck, which is why we run 3. You could also run 2 if you want, and that's perfectly fine. But I definitely feel like you should play a couple copies of her in your deck. Magician's Rod. When this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card Dark Magician in its text. Keynote: this does not search for items. During your opponent's turn, if you activate a spell or trap or the effect of a spell or trap while this card is in your graveyard, you contribute 1 spellcaster type monster, add this card to your hand. You only can use each effect once per turn. Magician's Rod is basically the monster that you always want to open up with when you duel with this deck. Because like it says, it's your role. It searches out every spell or trap that relates to Dark Magician. It is how you are able to play the deck, essentially. 1 copy of Blue Boy. You only play this copy because since you play a low monster count in Dark Magician, when you play Spellbook of Secrets, you could search out Blue Boy and then use Blue Boy to search out Spellbook of Knowledge. Then you have a way of drawing the card for Spellbook of Rudra. Alright, so that's pretty much the monster lineup. The rest are basically hand traps. 2 copies of Gamma Seal. If you want, you could play Dark Hole or Regeki in place of these, or something else entirely. The reason why I'm playing Gamma Seal is because there are monsters that are problematic for Dark Magician, like let's say the Ray Raptor Falcon thing that can't be targeted, that is basically unaffected by card effects. Lunalight, Leo Dancer, because it can't be targeted or destroyed. Like anything that can't be targeted is a problem to deal with. And there's also monsters that are like ABC Dragon Buster, Tornado Dragon. Like those cards are hard to deal with when you're playing Dark Magician. So Gamma Seal is just a way of getting over those monsters, which is why I like playing it. Again, you don't have to, but that's the reason I'm playing it. Triple Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Ogre, and Maxi to close out the hand traps. Ash Blossom, Ghost Ogre, and Maxi. I feel like this ratio right here is like a staple in most decks. At least for me, there's like these 6 cards right here are always going to be a staple in every deck I play. You could mess around with the ratios you want, but for me this is fine. Alright, going on to the spells. We play 1 copy of Dark Magic Inheritance. You can banish 2 spell cards from your graveyard. Add 1 spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in this text. Except Dark Magic Inheritance, you only can use this card once per turn. It's basically a way to rotor for your Dark Magician spell or traps in spell form. It's really good, especially in like a top decking situation, which is why I run it. People sometimes play like 2 or 3. I feel like that brings inconsistency. This card is perfectly fine at 1 because you just want to see it in the late game. 2 copies of Poly Duality. Dark Magician is a slow deck, so Poly Duality doesn't hinder the deck that much at all, really. Like, the only time it might conflict is when you have Apprentice Illusion Magician in your hand, because you can't special summon if you have Duality, so you kind of have to figure out which one you want more. 2 copies of Spellbook of Secrets, 2 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge, basically your draw engine. Dark Magician got really better because of this whole Spellbook engine, because not only does it make it easier for you to deck then, it's also like a reliable draw engine. Before Spellbook of Knowledge came out, people mostly played like Allure of Darkness as a draw power card. I think Allure of Darkness is kind of terrible in Dark Magician because you don't really want to banish any of your monsters, even if it's for a draw, because sometimes those monsters are really valuable, especially since you play such a low monster count. 3 copies of Dark Magic Circle. When this card is activated, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Then you can reveal 1 Dark Magician or spell or trap that specifically lists Dark Magician among them. Add it to your hand. Also, place the remaining cards on top of your deck in any order. I think this effect is like similar to like the Yugi Duel Link ability, apparently, because you get to like look at the top few cards of your deck and then like arrange them. I could be wrong, but I think that's an effect from Duel Link that's literally like this. Second effect is if a Dark Magician is normal or special summons to your side of the field, except for in damage calculation, you can target 1 card your opponent's controls and hold on, I'm trying to make it so I can see it, and banish it. You only can use the effect of Dark Magic Circle once per turn. So Dark Magic Circle is sort of the key component of your deck. It is how you disrupt your opponent, and it is how you deconstruct your opponent's board. Without this card, it is really hard to like stun your opponent, so you really rely on this card heavily. 1 copy of Illusion Magic. Tribute 1 spellcaster monster. Add up to 2 copies of Dark Magician from your deck and their graveyard to your hand. Only can use it once per turn. It is your best way to rotor for Dark Magician, basically. You only need 1 copy. You could. I've seen people run 2, but you only need 1. And then 1 Dark Magic attack, because it's basically a Harpy's Feather Dust. If you control a Dark Magician, destroy all spell traps your opponent controls. The main reason you play this is because 1, you don't play much spell trap removal to begin with, so having 1 that's like a Harpy's Feather Dust is good. And then 2, this card is searchable because you have multiple ways of getting to it. You can search it with Magician's Rod, you can search it with Inheritance, or you can search it off of Eternal Souls. You got multiple ways of getting to it, so it's a good card to run. For traps, we play 1 Solemn Warning and then 2 Solemn Strikes, and play 3 copies of Magician Navigation. Special summon 1 Dark Magician from your hand, then special summon 1 level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster type monster from your deck. Fun fact, if your opponent chains max seed to this, they'll get 2 draws because the summonings aren't simultaneously. It's 1 happens and then the second one happens right afterwards, so it counts as 2 different special summons. If you control, the second effect of this card is if you control a Dark Magician, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 face-up spell or trap your opponent controls. It has its effect negated until the end of this turn. Okay, so Magician Navigate is the trap that allows you to swarm the field, essentially. It lets you special summon the Dark Magician from your hand, as well as another spellcaster monster from your deck. Mainly, you're gonna go for Dark Illusion, But there are times where you just go for like double Dark Magician, or like let's say you're going against something like Chaos Max. You can use it to go for Dark Magician and Apprentice Illusion Magician, so you can use her effect to beat over the Chaos Max. So not only is it a way for you to storm the field, it's also the way to like stun your opponent, because it helps negate their spoiler traps. So like if you have a Dark Magician on your side of the field and it's your opponent's turn and they activate something like Rhoda, for example, you could chain Magician Navigate to that Rhoda and then negate it so they can't get their search. It's a really good card. Then lastly, you play 3 copies of Eternal Soul. Every Dark Magician in your monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. If this face-up card leaves the field, destroy all monsters on your side of the field that you control. I'm sorry. Just so you guys know, this effect doesn't apply if Eternal Soul leaves the field and is sent into your deck. This effect only triggers if it's bounced back to your hand, if it's sent to the graveyard, or if it's banished. So if it gets like castelled or like hit by like the Madoche Queen and sent back to your deck, this effect to destroy all your monsters won't trigger. You only can use the following effects of Eternal Soul once per turn. You can activate one of these effects: special summon 1 Dark Magician from your hand or graveyard, add 1 Dark Magic attack, or Thousand Eyes from your deck to your hand. So like we're saying before, it searches the Dark Magic attack, so free way to get to your Harpy's Feather Duster. And then it is the card that allows you to stall and to like have a way to keep summoning your Dark Magician. So like I feel like Eternal Soul is probably the best card to summon your Dark Magician with, between discard and Magician Navigate. People would say Magician Navigate is probably better, but I think Eternal Soul is way better. So that is the main deck. Let's go to the extra deck. Extra deck is you play 1 Ebon Illusion Magician. Some people play 2, but you only need 1, because like even in most duels, I barely ever make this card, and when I do, again, you only need 1 copy. 1 Big Eye, kind of have to. The ability to like steal one of your opponent's monsters is really clutch. Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. I barely make this card, but like it's good to have, because the ability to burn your opponent for 500 is really clutch. Because there are occasions where you could come close to OTKing your opponent with Dark Magician, because you could do a lot of damage. Like 2 Dark Magicians and like a Rod put your opponent down really low, to like where you could just make a Dark Flare Metal and they only activate like maybe 1 card, because they'll be less than under 1,000 life points. 1 Draco Sack, 1 number 89. You could cut this card if you want. I only play number 89 because I think it's a funny card to use and it's fun to make. And then 1 number 42, Galaxy Eye Tomahawk. And this card is how you make your Link plays, and I'll talk about a little more about the combos you can do with Tomahawk in a sec. Alright, for Link monsters, you play 2 Link Spider. Link Spider is really important in my opinion. You need at least 1 copy at most. You don't have to play 2, but you definitely need at least 1, because the problem with Dark Magician that it sometimes has is you might not have a way of sending your Dark Magician from the field to the graveyard, so you could summon it again so you could abuse your Dark Magic Circle. So Link Spider is just a free way of getting your Dark Magician to the graveyard, which is why I think you should play it. 1 copy of Crowley, the Origin or Prophecy. Never make this card, but I think you should play it at 1. 1 Akashic Magician, because you play a Kaiju, so you bind as well. It's easy to make. 1 Landpholinkus. I hope I said that right. 1 Proxy Dragon, 1 Deco Talker, 1 Ningrisu, and 1 Fireball Dragon. Right, so the combos with Tomahawk is when you make Tomahawk, you could use this effect and special summon a bunch of tokens. So ideally, you'll have Tomahawk in your extra deck zone, then use this effect to special summon like, 5 tokens, so you have 6 monsters. So one of the things you could do is link together Tomahawk with 1 token to make Landfall Links. Then you could use 2 of your remaining tokens to make a Proxy Dragon that's linked to your Landfall Links. From there, you have 2 options. You could either make Ningirsu or Fireball Dragon. If you want to make Ningirsu, then you would have to use one of your remaining tokens to make a Link Spider. Then you would use Link Spider and Langfellinks and link those two together to make Ningirsu next to your Proxy Dragon. And if you do that play, you will have one leftover token, so you could use Ningirsu's effect to send that token and then one card in your opponent's hand to field to the graveyard. So it's good to get rid of it's a good way to get rid of problematic cards if need be. And also, I believe Ningirsu does not target, so that's why it's a really good card. If you want to make Fireball Dragon, you would have the Langfellinks and then the Proxy Dragon, and then you would take Langfellinks and then the last two remaining tokens on your side of the field, then link those two, all those together for Fireball Dragon next to your Proxy Dragon. So that way you would have a Fireball Dragon that's co-linked with Proxy Dragon, so you can bounce something during your opponent's turn, as well as a way to protect your spell and traps, because Proxy Dragon effect is that you could send one of the monsters linked to it to the graveyard to protect one of your cards from being destroyed. So it's a really good little combo. And everything in the side deck is just cards you consider, like Dark Hole, Regeki, Slumber if you want to play more kaijus. Skill Drain. Skill Drain is a really good card. I definitely think you should try it out if you decide to cut something out. Like, everything here from the side deck options, Skill Drain is probably like the most priority in trying out. Instant Fusion. I've seen builds of people playing Thousand Eyes Restrict and Millennium Eyes Restrict, so they can make the Prophecy Link Monster faster. So that's just something you could consider. Forbidden Chalice, Eye of Timaeus. Okay, let's talk about Eye of Timaeus. A lot of people like Eye of Timaeus and always wonder why I don't play Eye of Timaeus. And the reason why Eye of Timaeus has a lot of problems. The main problem is that Eye of Timaeus sucks when you're going first. Because when you go first, when it's your first turn, like, it doesn't matter if you're first or second. Like, during your first turn of the game, Eye of Timaeus sucks because you have no way of summoning Dark Magician your first turn. So it's basically a dead card in your hand. Secondly, since you don't want it in your opening hand, you want it later on. But since most duels dictate like its winner like in the first couple turns, odds are you're probably not going to see this card, so it's not going to really add any value. So you might as well just play something better in its place. But that's just my opinion. You could play Eye of Timaeus if you want, because the fusion is still a really good card. Don't get me wrong. It's just the downside to Eye of Timaeus outweighs the good, in my opinion. You can play Gofu. You can play Grinding Golem if you want. I hate this card, which is why I don't, but you can if you want to. MSC if you want more Spell Trap Remover or Cosmic Cyclone Mirror, whatever you prefer. Drowning Mirror Force is a pretty good tech. If you were making a actual side deck for Dark Magician, I would definitely think that you should run the Drowning Mirror Force. It's a good option. Lure of Darkness if you want more draw power, and Infinite Transience. Yeah, Transience. This is a new card that's coming out of Flame of Destruction. It's basically like a new effect Veiler type of hand trap. Something I will say is that I've been considering cutting the Solemn Warning and the 2 Solemn Strikes in favor of this card, 2 copies of Infinite Transience and a copy of Skill Drain, because I feel like the Solemns kind of suck if you're not going first, because you want cards to like stun your opponent as fast as possible, and Infinite Transience give you that option, and Skill Train is a card that you can activate anytime. It's not a reacting card, so I think Skill Drain is better overall. It's something that I'm going to play around with and something you guys should consider. But yeah, overall, let's talk about the good things about Dark Magician. Dark Magician has like really good disruption ability because of Dark Magic Circle, because you get to banish things on your opponent's side of the field. It has a lot of recursion because of Eternal Soul. Eternal Soul is like one of the most powerful traps in the game, in my opinion, because not only does it keep giving you ways to bring back your Dark Magician, it also protects it from like literally everything. And I also forgot, Navigate is another trap that like stuns your opponent, because you could like banish it and then it stops your opponent, a spell or trap from your opponent. Not only that, and you also have a vast amount of draw power in this deck, or like search ability, like Power Duality, Spellbook of Secrets to go into Spellbook of Knowledge. So you like the deck dating and drawing ability of this deck is really high. But the downside of this deck is that the deck relies on at least 3 specific cards in order to like be able to do things. Like you need to have a copy of Dark Magician, you need a copy of Dark Magic Circle, and you need preferably Eternal Soul, but you could have either Eternal Soul or Navigate to like be able to do anything really in a reasonable manner. Like that's like the ideal thing you're looking for. But that's like, again, that's the 3 cards. And Dark Magician wants to go first, so out of those 5 cards in your hand, those 3 are the things you want to see. So it's tough. But yeah, that's pretty much the deck profile. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys on the next one.